Okay, so I'm back to the Passat. So I won the get shit on lottery for vehicles lately because the AA, and we painted that white. It looks pretty good. I'll be distracted for a second. Raptor liner too. So here's the texture on the van. You can kind of see pretty rough. This one I sprayed. I didn't do a video on it because it's just bed liner. But if you look, like, it's pretty fine. It's hard to see from up close, and it came out like white, man. Like, it's super bright. It looks great for, you know, compared to what it used to look like. And hopefully it's super durable. It's gotten way harder lately. Super duper happy with it. But I noticed that my A8 was losing coolant slowly. Like, oh, hey, your coolant's low. And I topped it up, drove it to work to see how fast it came out. And it's like, yeah, I'd have to top it off once a week. Like, it's a decent leak. And I bet it's just one of like the clamps like before, because they're old and fatigued. And brittle hoses from wherever. So I drove the van in, get to work, and it's pissing coolant. It emptied the reservoir, filled it back up on the way home, but then it took me 4 gallons of like stopping and topping off because I didn't want to damage anything, but I also didn't want to get a tow. And it was crapping all over by the transmission, so I can't even see what's going on. So I'm finally going to get off my butt and swap the intake, because while it's off I should be able to see where that leak was from, and hopefully I just have a hose from you know, the other engine that came out. So, yeah, that's where we're at. And also I'm motivated because I want to go biking on Saturday, so if I can fix this between tonight and tomorrow night, I can use the van to go bike. Well, I haven't done anything special yet, right? Just like disconnected the injectors and the cam signal, because I think like this will have to be pulled through the intake eventually, and it looks like I'll have to remove the fuel lines to do that, which I'm not super happy about because they're not in a great spot. But I think once the intake is loose and flopped over, it'll be easier to touch. And then I disconnected this guy. You can tell that other side of it's all floppy and blown out. So, okay, it's all floppy and like you can tell it's delaminated and just like peeling. See, look at that. That's a big piece of the hose just came right apart. So that's the one I'll have to replace. Just a matter of getting to it. And we happen to get to change the swap intake at the same time. So everything I'm reading says that it's possible to take this out, possible, right, by masochists and assholes to pull this intake without pulling the engine or anything crazy. I've gotten 8 of the bolts out. These are for the coolant thing and some fuel thingy. And there's 12, right? So if you look at this, there's 2 per pair, and then there's 2 for the EGR. So there's 12 bolts. I'm not at 8, 10, 12. So it's the rear ones. And what I'm finding is that there's one I can see on a mirror with a light in the back, and it is this one right here. This guy. It's that bolt, and it's behind the fuel rail. I don't know how I was able to get to this other one because the fuel rail is like flat. It's like maybe I can get to it, but I'm getting real close to doing what other people do and just sawzalling the top half of this piece of shit off. Calling it a night. All of my lights have run out of battery. So, well, the bike headlight hasn't, but my headlight and the other ones. And I think if I get the 3rd bolt off the fuel rail, I can get those last ones in the back. I think. I'm just not willing to do it right now. It's getting dusk. I don't want to. I'm frustrated. I want to take a shower. And I'd really like to get it out without sawzalling it, just to kind of like show everybody, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. But if I had to start this over, I'd sawzall right off the start, and I know exactly what I'd do. I would get in here and chop right across this, all 5, take the top half off, and then nothing will be in the way for those top bolts. Just come out so easy. Probably gonna do it anyway, aren't I? Back at it, gave it some thought at work today and decided that the sawzall's the way to go. Like, it'd be nice to take it out naturally, but all I read about is how frustrating and awful it is, so why would I do it? So, like, the Million Mile Sprinter guy, his little write-up on his own Facebook page from years ago when he did it, he was just like, yeah, it might actually be easier and faster to pull the entire power pack, like pull the engine and trans out and then swap the intake. I mean, I can believe it. Like, I pulled the head with the intake on it, even with the new style. So I think going on it'll be a lot easier, but taking it off, yeah, I'm gonna cut it. And I'm looking, only thing I really see that's gonna be close, like really close, especially if I come in like this and do each one individually, is this main harness. So just making sure I don't nick that, and should be in decent shape. So I'm gonna put the light on this side, and then I'm gonna come in here and kind of go through each slot one at a time. Because there's really, once I push through, like this one has a fuel line that's really close. Might be worth just unhooking that. Like I'm probably gonna have to prime everything anyway, but it's camera like crazy. This here, there's. I just want to make sure that I can like see what I'm putting the tip of that near. Oh my gosh! Just the tip. None of it's really a good angle. First one went through without incident, and it's nice because I could kind of see as it comes along that rib and go slow, and it didn't nick any fuel lines. So the only other spot is this harness one. So I think once I cut through this and this, it's going to be smooth sailing, because those, I don't really see anything from here. I don't feel anything. So yeah, once these two are done, it's just like going to be great. And then the side of the bench will be covered in flakes. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I do know how I feel about trying to get those bolts out. So keep on keeping it, make sure it's shaped. Nice and clean, didn't touch the harness. Okay, so other than the angle of the dangle, I think I can get to those three pretty easy. I don't see any point in filming them. If there's any kind of drama, I'll get the camera rolling again. That was it. I don't know what might still be attached to it or not, but definitely moved in that last cut. What I ended up having to do is get a real long blade, even though it wasn't a metal blade, and it packed up those carbide ones. It completely ruined them, all that aluminum. So I had to to cut the back one all the way through, I had to be starting the cut into the next, and so forth and so forth. So here you can see where it overlapped a bit, but it looks like it's pretty much off. I don't know, there must be a spot I didn't quite get all the way through. Yeah, because those don't have any bolts, which they probably should. There's something definitely still attached. Ugh. There's so much of it moving. Okay, I gotta think about what I'm missing on this cut, figure it out. This is gonna turn out interesting. So completely, I didn't think about the part where there's 5 in holes and then there's this EGR one on the end. So I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't cut it all the way through. So I start ripping on it, and it's definitely coming out. Like, I just basically can hold the part on that back one with my bare hands. But I hope I didn't hurt the head, right? I hope it didn't just rip bolts out of the head, because that wouldn't be ideal. Oh no, it broke in half. Look at that. See, eat your Wheaties, boys and girls. You can rip aluminum in half with your bare hands like a wild fucking animal. All right, cool. Now, lo and behold, oh, look at how easy now. Look at all those bolts. So there's stuff in there. What a stupid setup, right? So clearly I disconnected the rail mostly. I think there's yeah, I got all the rail bolts out because I thought some of the rail bolts were manifold bolts. And I have some of the manifold bolts out, but not all the manifold bolts out. So what I'm going to do, now that there's aluminum shards everywhere, is expose all the fuel lines. Yeah, sounds smart to me. Fucking, this is so stupid. But I can, if I pull these lines and then like tape everything off and be nice to it, I can pull the harness away this way, like with the other intake, and then I'll just pull the rail off and I'll get everything. Slow and steady wins the race now that we've gotten through the brute force and ignorance part of it. Oh, it's so worth it. So yeah, everything, like you can just get to the bolts, and then I saw the hose and I was like, wait, I was like, hose, and I completely forgot that now, right, that I won't have a coolant hose back there. It's metal and it goes up to here, so I'll never have to deal with this again unless it leaks out of the gasket. So I'm gonna RTV the ever-loving shit out of that. Things looking good. Super glad that I kept that just down. So I think I can this way around the fuel lines and then decide what really needs to come out to put the next one back in. Yeah. Pick this up. Get it like shimmy it. I don't know if it'll fit. Might not fit. Might have been easier if I took the fuel roll all the way out. But I'm trying to avoid it. I'm trying to be as lazy as I can, while also making things 10 times more difficult for myself. So the leaking hose, I mean, that's impressive, right? The whole thing just delaminated. So I gotta imagine once it hit, like, once it started to split, it only got worse and worse as time went on. So that whole thing will be gone. You can see where it snapped off. And then this, yeah, there's just metal gasket between the two, so I think I'll give it some, maybe just copper is fine, copper RTV. So stays black RTV all over it. And did something at some point, so I think probably the best thing to do is to pull the gasket out, clean it, and then, yeah, maybe just copper, but then on that back part, just on the coolant flange, I'll do some actual RTV and copper spray the rest. I've run into a small problem, not in here so much. So like the harness came over, I got all the top bolts in, the rail's kind of flopping around, some things I'm not sure if it really should be. But I don't know where the bolts for the bottom went because they're way longer. And I think what had happened is that I didn't realize that this intake had different bolts, right? Like that needs the super long ones for the bottom. And I probably chucked them in the scrap bin. I don't usually throw, like I think I threw them in the trash. I don't think so. I think they're in here somewhere. But the problem is that, like, up there in the corner, if you can see it, there's a giant, like 2 of my human heads, bald-faced hornet nest. And I'm not going in there to look for those bolts where those guys are alive. So anyway, it's not going to be done right. Like, I don't want to drive it with the lower bolts out because they'll just leak. It's stupid. And if I don't have them in the van, I'll need to order them, which will take fucking forever. So I don't know. Not super happy right now. I'll just put together what I can, I guess.
I'm just gonna go make some food.
Okay, good. Alright, so I'm saved. So I went out in this shot because I thought, hey, I didn't know.
What are you doing that out here?
Oh, I was thinking about cutting some little boys in half. Maybe I'll start with you. Sick. Alright. Yeah, so I didn't know I was going to get this far. I thought I was going to rebuild this engine. So of course I bagged and tagged everything. So here's fuel rail and intake manifold. So now I have the right stuff to mount. I guess there was a block in the back for mounting the rail. And then I have the right bolts for the bottom. So I'm going to get the manifold on, get the rail on, just kind of piece things together. It should work out. Let's see, I was supposed to have to extend a fuel line. I'd got to imagine it's this one, but I don't know. Real quick, like things to see, right? So this hose, this black one, there's a block up here. Right, that, I think if I really stretch it, it'll reach, but like this should really be extended. Or if I could get that block apart, I could just let it flop. And then there's the smaller block, not this one, but the other one that's smaller, needs to be used with that intake. Because I think this one must have a spot, right? If that's the case, well, I don't see one. Maybe not. Either way, that's what mounts the rail, where something else existed before. So I've almost got the rail back on. Whole manifold's on. Looks like this tube's going to be the same, and then this coolant hose, where did I put that thing? This one. So I'm pretty sure this is the right one. This one will go from, yeah, so that's the one that'll be like the new hose, right? New. So the manifold itself replaces that piece of crap, and then this will go in its place. And it's super easy to get to, so I'm not worried about reusing the old one. I think I got it. And I started to pour coolant in, and I said, what are you forgetting? You're always forgetting something. Feels like I'm forgetting something. I thought something wasn't plugged in. I mean, EGR's not plugged in, but that's because it's off-road use only. Coolant, the one coolant line, the whole reason we did this in the first place. So I'm gonna hook that up, put coolant in, give it a start, see, maybe I don't need to bleed the system. We'll find out. Unlikely, but fingers crossed. Okay, here's where we find out what I actually forgot to plug in. Right when it's, oh, you know what? Fucking battery. I took the negative terminal off. Alright. Battery's hooked back up, I think. I didn't plug in any of the glow plugs because I want to replace them anyway, and 3 of them don't work.
Device connected.
Device connected, great. Show me some music. Come on, Prime. Is there anything I didn't plug in? So one time earlier this year, this pressure sensor, right, this line popped off, which I should mount that to something eventually, but I just want to go mountain biking tomorrow. I don't care. And it lost prime, and I was stuck at a gas station. So what I'm going to do is I grab my vacuum pump, like a little boy, and then the return, right? So this is that same line that I took off, and I actually rerouted it and didn't have to lengthen it. But this line, into the filter, and you can see there's an arrow on top. If we just suck on it, it should pull fuel through everything. It should pull it through the lift pump, it should pull it through the high pressure pump, it should pull it through the rail, like all that fun stuff. And I don't know a good way to like make sure the light on it and good enough camera. I don't know. My hands are gonna be in the way. I don't care. It's late. I just want the van to run. Just shove that hose in there, and then there's. Yep, you see there's diesel coming through, and you can watch. Now I can watch the intake. So through coming out of the filter, you see all kinds of bubbles and stuff. And then over here, like, see the bubbles coming out of the lift pump. So if there's air and stuff in that, it's just going to pump, it's just going to squish the air, right? It's not going to actually pump diesel. It's going to squish the air. It's going to act like a giant spring. So we want to try to pull in like fresh stuff from the tank, which should make it start really nice. Alright, we'll find out if that was enough. It's also possible I forgot to plug something electrical in.
Bluetooth mode. Device connected. Bluetooth mode.
It's balls.
Device connected.
What am I forgetting? There's gotta be something. I guess I could check the codes. I cleared the codes, tried to start. The only codes I got back were glow plugs, so it's gotta be there's still air in that fuel system. So I think I'm gonna try to just pull through the lift pump and see if that works better instead. Fuck it, finally. You can probably tell by how light it is out what's been going on. Of course, my light. Why wouldn't I have light? Fuck me in the ass. A huge pain in my butt. A huge pain in my butt. just took forever to bleed the dang thing. I was trying to do it from the return where it goes through the filter and it just wouldn't fucking pull fuel through it. I ended up pulling off that connector, right, or whatever sensor that is, and pulling from there, and then finally you can see there's some diesel in the guy. It pulled a slug of diesel through and it's good to go. So I'll have to pour that back in the tank or something, but yeah, I'm just gonna let it idle, see if the thermostat will open, see if it'll pull some of that coolant in, and then top that off, and then really I got all weekend to deal with it. So yeah, oh, what a chore, but now it's done, and now I can do my glow plugs without moving intake manifold, so big thumbs up. To consider, we're gonna have some bonus footage in this bitch, because these assholes, I don't see a lot of activity. Look at the size of that nest though. Like, that's fucking huge. It's bald-faced hornets, the biggest butt heads in the fucking world. And yeah, so I'm gonna torch those bitches. Took it biking this morning and the heat came on, which is great. Normally that takes me a couple cycles for it to really get the fluid up in there. So just top that off, nothing's leaking. It runs smooth. We'll just let it rip. And then last night we hit the hornet's nest and just wanted to show some aftermath. Like, that nest was huge. I did a short on it, which hopefully people will see. But like, there's dead larvae everywhere. There's dead larvae. So many dead wasps. Like, the wind hits it. Oh, that one's wiggling. A couple of them are wiggling around. It's jerks. Yeah, it was up there and it was huge. It was like hanging way down, and there's the core of it. I blasted that again this morning to make sure like all the larvae and stuff are dead. So yeah, I'm glad to have that over with, because now I can, there's some stuff I want to pull out of here, aluminum to scrap maybe. Okay, I just need to make it go away. Yeah, that was rowdy. That was a lot of fun.